Guys, this is just for your consent that I have started recording of this session and I'll be sharing with you guys. So today we are going to discuss about the very first and very important topic of AWS, which is EC2. So guys, anyone has any idea about EC2 machine? I hope that a couple of you must have already gone through a couple of videos, or you might have got a chance to work in real world environment as well. But yes, I would like to know if any one of you can explain like how to create EC2 machine. Anyone?
First of all, like EC2, we can say is an elastic compute cloud. It is a virtual machine in AWS, and we can launch it by clicking on EC2 instance and launch instance, and by configuring all details
Okay.
we get. Yes.
So first of all, when we talk about a particular virtual machine, so before knowing about virtual machine, we should be knowing about the type of servers. The type of servers we should be talking about. So guys, majorly, as long as you are going to work in production environment, in dev environment, in SIT environment, we are going to talk about this environment as well. What are these names that I'm calling? So guys, the very first thing here is that is going to be like physical server. Why I'm just going to explain these things? Because most of time we all are going to hear these terms like this is that. So every sort of terminology, whatever we are going to use, so we should be knowing about it, right? The very first type of server is that is known as physical server. Such as you are planning to establish a data center. You have each and every equipment, whatever is required. So if you remember, we discussed about we have racks, we have servers, and we have routers, switches, firewall, everything we discussed within last session, right?
Right.
So the very first type of server where you would like to get, you may get a chance to work, that is known as physical server. Just like you can touch your laptop, you can touch your desktop, you have a keyboard associated with it, everything you do. The same thing, like there will be a particular blade server or maybe rack server. So that's whatever kind of server it is. But yes, there will be a physical box available, irrespective of shape and size. So that type of server is known as physical server, right? Second type of server is known as virtual server. So guys, when we call about like a virtual server, or we can call that virtual machine. Rather than calling it physical server, we can call it like physical machine as well. So either you can call it physical server or physical machine, you can call it virtual server or virtual machine. So the particular word VM is taken from these two words, VM. Virtual machine, the particular term which we usually use. So that is broken in, that is a combination of two words, virtual plus machine. So we usually call it VM. Sometimes a person can call it a box, virtual box. Sometimes a person can call it like machine, sometimes call it a particular server, or like that. So second type of machine here is virtual machine. In order to create virtual machine, first of all, we need to have a physical server. Then there will be a component known as hypervisor. Let me define that here. There will be a software used that is known as hypervisor. With the help of hypervisor, we are going to create multiple virtual machines in the on the top of this physical server. The third type of machine which are going to be and which you will get a chance to work with, these are known as containers. Right? Containers. The most popular one is Docker. Right? So there is a buzz in market, like everyone is running towards Kubernetes, right? Tenzo, and so many others are there. I would not name a lot, but yes, there is a basic software which is used most of places, that is known as container, and these are isolated environment for individual processes, right? So these are three type of component, or these are three type of segments which you will get a chance to work with: physical server, virtual machine, and containers. We cannot touch virtual machine anyhow. We can just remotely access it. We can run our software inside it, and whatever we want, we can perform. Are we clear so far with this thing, guys? That what is the difference between physical server, virtual machine, and container? Because when we are going to talk about this particular AWS platform, so we should be knowing about it, like why we are talking about this virtual machine. What is this virtual machine? Guys, we are not going to see this particular machine anyhow. We are not going to touch this machine anyhow, because this does not exist in practical manner. In physical manner, it does not exist. It is just a particular logical architecture that yes, okay, these many CPUs are assigned, these many this much amount of hard disk, RAM, and network interfaces assigned that way. So guys, we are going to create one EC2 machine. Guys, wherever you have a question, you all are free to ask, because what do I want here is that after completion of today's session, you shall be able to explain the particular things which a person of up to 5 years of experience should be able to explain. I will take this particular session up to professional level, that a professional architecture, AWS certified solution architect professional, that amount of knowledge we are going to gain within today's session. This is especially going to be for EC2 machine only, right? Okay. So first of all, we are going to talk about the particular components which are available here. This is EC2 machine dashboard.
Sir, can you tell me, in short, what is the difference between VM and containers?
Sure.
Virtual machine and container. Yes.
Sure. So what happens? Let us say I need to run a process known as Apache. That is a web server. Those guys who are not aware of Apache, so I would like to explain this thing as well. Apache is a web server. For example, if you can see that we are running this particular interface here. So every single web interface which is available, so that is provided with the help of some web server. The most popular names are, it could be your Apache, it could be Nginx, Tomcat, or IIS. In case of Windows server, if you are using Windows, then IIS is the server platform which is known as web server, right? So whenever we create a process, or whenever we want to run a process, first of all, we need a physical hardware. Then after, we need to install a software inside it. Then we start that process. Like we will install the software inside it. Then after, we are going to launch the machine. We are going to start the server. We are going to start web server, you can say in a nutshell, right? So now guys, what is going to happen in this particular case? So first of all, there will be a lot many processes running. Approx 100 processes will be running in order to manage a server, in order to execute a server, right? Like first of all, init process will be started. Then after, like some sub process will be started. Multiple daemons are there which are required in order to support your kernel to be functioning properly, right? So whether you want or not, if you start a server, so approx 100 to 200 MB of RAM is consumed by server itself, wherein you know very well the particular amount of RAM which is required in order to run the Apache process, that is hardly 100 MB, because you are going to do some POC, like proof of concept you are going to do on that machine. So unwanted resources are being consumed by the virtual machine itself. In order to mitigate that stuff, so Google itself developed a particular platform which is known as like containerization, and that platform utilizes the particular CPU amount of RAM, network, disk only to manage only single process. A container is a running instance for any individual process. For example, if you want to run Apache, so only Apache process will be running inside your container. No other process will be found. Moreover, the particular libraries which are required, so it runs with a bare minimum hardware and bare minimum software component, right? So container is a isolated image for running a single process, wherein virtual machine and your physical server requires all the processes to be running in order to support some other like software required. For example, you want to run MySQL, which is a database engine, right? So you will have to create entire operating system in order to manage MySQL. But in case of container, only MySQL will be running. Yes, containers can be running on the top of either a physical server or on the top of a virtual machine as well. Irrespective of operating system, it may run on Windows, Linux, or Red Hat, CentOS, Ubuntu. Any kind of Linux operating system can also be used in order to run your containerization environment. Clear?
Sir, it means like first of all, what I understood, I can say, like in this web page, particular web page, you said every service is running on web Apache server, like likewise,
Right.
and okay, and second one is container can not only in the Linux, it can run in on Windows also.
Yes.
Okay,
It is
and
platform
what?
independent.
Okay, and one more like. In daemon and processes, like not in Linux only, they are in Windows also, like
Right.
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 Okay, okay, okay.
So
Understood.
what happens here is, let us say, okay, let me create a machine. Quickly, I'm going to create a machine for you guys, just in order to show, like, I am not going to start any process, but yes, it is going to be like multiple images, multiple processes will be found running inside that. So do not focus on all the things, whatever I'm going to do. Just focus at the very end. It hardly takes 30 seconds to boot up, like to create a server. See how easy it is. And within the next 1 minute, I shall be able to log into this machine as well. As soon as it comes into running state, I will be able to log into this machine. Right now it is pending, but later on it will be in running state. See, now it is running. I can directly connect and I will show you the particular number of processes which are running inside it.
Sir, to come it into the running state, is it depend on our internet speed, or
No,
usually
it
it takes
depends on
some time?
AWS infrastructure, because whenever you create a server, it needs
Hmm.
some time to come up. For example, if you reboot a machine, so it takes some time.
Okay.
So if I run a command known as stop here, so guys, you will get to know that these many processes are running here, like overall 90 processes are running, and the particular process, the name is Apache, which I really wanted to install on the server in order to execute it properly. So that has yet not been started. And still, if you see, like total amount of RAM is approx 800 MB, and 127 MB amount of RAM is already being used. Only 394 MB space is free out of 800, which means the particular server which I have created and the particular amount of RAM which I was supposed to consume for running a single process, that has already been consumed by existing processes which are running on the server, and actually which are not required for me. For example, if you talk about like NetS, ZenBus, KAuditD, right? These are the particular processes, you are talking about like RCU, GP. So these are like TuneD, systemd, Kthread. These particular processes are not required for me anymore. I really do not bother about whether these processes are running or not, but yes, I want to run only Apache. But the main thing here is, if these processes are not running, then Apache will not be able to run. Why is that so? Because these are the processes which are required by the server itself. So in order to run a single software, which is known as Apache, or you can give another name, maybe Nginx, maybe Tomcat, you can give it a name. Maybe you can install any other software, whatever you like. So you will have to ensure that all the processes are running properly. If these processes are not running, then guys, you will not be able to run Apache software on this server. That is the only thing, right? So unwanted memory is being consumed on this server by existing processes which are required to be running in order to run your additional software, whatever you want to run, right? So that way.
Okay, and in
In
containerization.
container, there will be only one process. For example, if I run a command yum install, so guys, yum is a package manager for Red Hat. So if I want to show you this particular thing, yum install httpd.
And HTTPD is nothing but the Apache server, right? Now you
Yes,
can
this
say
is a particular software for Apache server.
software for
So if I run a container, so only this particular service will be running inside that. No other service will be found. Like if you talk about NetNS, KAuditD, ZenBus, ZenWatch, no other processes will be running inside that container. Only one process, which is known as HTTPD. That's it.
Okay.
So let us say ps-ef pipe grab HTTP. Oh, that is not running. System CTL start HTTPD. See, only one process is running. See, like these are the child processes which are required to support main process, right? In order to manage high amount of volume, high traffic, right? So this particular process is running. So if you run any container, only this process will be found. No other process. It means all the software, whatever you are going to run inside a container, only that will be running. No other process will be found. That is a major difference between container and virtual machine.
Okay.
So guys, I have terminated this machine. So first of all, I would like to walk you through the particular dashboard of this. So there are two things. First of all, instances. Overall number of instances which are running, these will be visible here, right? If you see instances, so all the instances which are in stopped state, which are getting terminated, which are pending, which are not running, these are in any state, right? Those instances will be available here under this section. Placement group, we will discuss in detail in like in today's session only, but not right now. Volume. So guys, volume is a hard disk drive, HDD, hard disk drive. The type could be SSD, that could be like any type of volume, that could be, we will discuss in detail, right? So all the amount of disk, all the number of disks which you are going to create in your infrastructure, you are going to attach with your server. So those volumes or those disks will be listed down here, right? AWS provides a particular feature that you can ask AWS to allocate you a dedicated server, like a physical server you can have that will be allocated to you. But guys, keep this thing in mind, because we are not supposed to enter into AWS data center, or you can say in other words that you cannot physically access that server. But yes, all the features, all the components, all the utilities of that physical server you will be provided, such as if you want to manage, if you want to reboot your physical server, you will be allowed to do so. Everything will be managed by you only. For example, if there is a particular bug on the server, if there is a particular package which is running with older version, so you will be responsible to upgrade the particular software version on the server. You will be responsible to patch that server. Everything you will be doing. Only one thing is with AWS or with your, like CSP cloud service provider, that is known as housekeeping. And what does it mean, housekeeping? That proper electricity or power supply is being provided to that server. Second thing, whenever you want that the particular server should be rebooted physically, they will be responsible for it. Otherwise, except housekeeping, everything will be done by you only. No other customer of AWS will have access to that dedicated host. Right, guys?
Like we will be rebooting virtually only, or we just requesting them and they will restart? How it?
So there are two ways. First of all, let us say you will have a virtual console of this particular server. You will be allowed to log into that particular machine. You can give a command after login to that server that reboot this. Server will be rebooted automatically. But let us say if there is a requirement, maybe in like in hypothetical manner, there is a requirement that server is not getting rebooted or server is not getting connected from some console, right? Because of any unforeseen reason. Now you may want that AWS data center administrators who are doing housekeeping for you in that data center will be asked in order to reboot your server in physical manner. They will press the power button. The server will be stopped. Once again, when it is stopped, they will confirm you. You will check it again that server is in network or not. Once again, you can ask them that, okay, please press the power button once again in order to start the server. They will do it for you because they are the housekeepers.
Okay.
That activity will be performed by AWS team. Right, guys? This is known as dedicated host. Now, key pairs. Now, guys, what is the key pair? So, guys, whenever we create a machine, whenever we create a virtual machine or virtual server here, So in that particular case, we need to log into that machine as well. Why do we need to log in? For example, I need to install some software. I need to troubleshoot anything. Let us say earlier my SQL service was running and right now that has stopped working. Or maybe some other applications are there which were trying to create like initialize connection with my MySQL database, but MySQL is not accepting any connection. So in order to troubleshoot, for example, in order to execute any query, you need to log into that server. So what are the methods here using which you can log into a server? First, the very first method here is you can log in with a username and password. There will be a username and a password will be there, which will be like mapped with that particular user only. So with the help of username and password, you can log into server. Second thing here is the SSH key pair. There is a public and private key pair. So public key pair is created and uploaded inside EC2 machine by AWS team automatically. Second thing, a private key pair will be allowed. You will be allowed to download a private key pair. Third thing here is, like, if you do not want to log in with key pair, you may already have, maybe you have placed your key inside the particular machine, or you do not want to use SSH key pair, so you can proceed without key pair as well. So the number of key pairs which we have created, in fact, we are going to discuss the strategy as well, like how do we need to ensure that we are not generating a lot of key pairs in order to mitigate the confusion. That sort of strategy we are going to discuss. Moreover, we are going to discuss that who holds the particular keys. That sort of information we are going to discuss today. Now, security group. So guys, whenever we create a particular
key pairs will be randomly generated and no one will get like or judge this will be the key pair, right?
These are not generated randomly. You will have to define that what sort of key pair you are going to generate, whether you want to or not, until and unless you give an acknowledgement that you want to proceed without key pair. If you want to use existing key pair, you will have to select existing key pair, or you will have to select new key pair. You will give it a name. Until and unless you download it, you will not be allowed to proceed further. Moreover, the particular key pairs which you have, if you do not download it, then guys, keep this thing in mind. You will not be able to recreate, or you will not be able to download the key pair once again. If it is lost, that is lost, because there is a particular warning which is given at the time of key generation or at the time of key downloading. We will discuss that.
But key pair is nothing but just the numeric values that are getting matched with the while we are trying to log in, right? Or how it is. Okay. Okay.
So guys, when we talk about security, so how our virtual machines are secured? So we have a particular component known as security group. So as we know, like we have 65,536 ports overall. So whatever ports we want, that our server should be able to accept connection on individual port number, where from should it be accepting traffic. So if we want to verify, or if we want to allow any sort of traffic that should be traveling from outside world to our EC2 machine, so we will be whitelisting that under our security group. These are firewall rules basically. Now, what is elastic IP address? So guys, there are going to be three types of IP addresses. The very first one is going to be private IP address. The very first IP address is going to be private IP address. For example, in any given scenario, you forgot to associate a public IP address. Obviously, guys, we discussed last time as well, like what is the difference between public and private. But today we are going to discuss once again the difference between public IP address and private IP address. So what happens here is the very first IP address which will be associated with your EC2 machine is private IP address. Every single EC2 machine, whatever you will create, that EC2 machine will have one private IP address for sure. Second thing, there is going to be a public IP address, and public IP addresses are assigned in two ways. First of all, it could be dynamic and it could be static IP address. So the default IP addresses which are assigned to an EC2 machine, these are known as dynamic public IP address. What does it mean, dynamic? For example, you created EC2 machine. That EC2 machine is assigned with a public IP address. If you stop the machine for a minute or two and once again you started it, it could be possible that the IP address which was assigned previously with that machine, that may not be reassigned. that may get changed. It is not 100% sure that will definitely get changed, but possibilities are there that may get changed. But if there is a requirement that if you reboot your machine, if you stop your machine, then even the particular machine should not be changing the IP address. There should be one static IP address, because it could be possible that you might have hosted one website on the same machine and you might have pointed the IP address against that A record. If the machine is rebooted and IP address is changed, then in that particular case, guys, website will stop working. That is the particular scenario here. What is load balancer, guys? As the name suggests, like if you have multiple EC2 machines running and you would like to distribute your load evenly, or maybe based on different like load balancing algorithm we have. So based on that, if you want to distribute a load, so we are going to place all the EC2 machines behind load balancer. We will discuss about this in detail. Snapshots are the backup of your volume. Snapshots are the backup of your volumes. Clear, guys? These are the particular dash. This is the particular resources which you are going to work with in order to manage your EC2 machine. Any questions so far, guys? Guys, any questions so far?
Sir, when we are trying to connect to an EC2 instance, we have an option for EC2 serial connection.
Yes, we have.
What does it mean?
Okay, I'll explain that when we will try to connect to it. When we will create EC2 machine once again, I'll explain that options. Okay. So guys, nowadays AWS has started giving one more additional option here, that is known as like global view of EC2 machine. Now, what does that mean, guys? So for example, if we see here, there is a particular word written known as Mumbai. So this is the particular like AWS console home. Wherever you are, if you click here, so this is highlighting like AWS console home. Wherever you are, you will be redirected to this particular place. This is known as AWS console home. This will be listing down couple of services for you, or you can call that like mostly like most viewed services or recently visited services. These services are going to be listed down here. Moreover, if you want to see all the services, for example, if you are new, you are trying to explore that what type of services are available. So for example, for compute, we have EC2, Lightsail, we have Lambda, Batch, Elastic Beanstalk, serverless application repository, AWS Outpost, Image Builder, AWS App Runner. These are the particular components which comes under compute section. For containers, we have this, like we have Elastic Container Registry, we have like Elastic Container Service, ECS, EKS, OpenShift services on AWS. Storage section, we have database section, we have migration transfer services, network and content delivery we have, which is known as CDN. Developer tool, like for example, if you want to be DevOps engineer, then these are the particular tools which you will have to explain or which you will have to explore. Like customer enablement, robotics, blockchain, satellite. There are separate like quantum technologies. For security, identity and compliance, we have these many services available. Management and governance, we have these many. Media, front end and web mobile. Multiple sections are there based on the requirement that what category would you like to work with. So AWS will allow you to manage all the resources. Right, guys? These are the particular services which are available on the AWS platform as of today. And these are ongoing. These are growing day by day. Like every other month, there are some new services integrated with AWS, right? Okay. So this is AWS console. These are the services. If you want to like look for any service, once again, these are the particular list. Like these are the categories, and these are the particular services which you are seeing there. So these sort of components are available. If you want to search anything, for example, I heard a name, maybe DNS. So Route 53, DNS resolver, right? So whatever component or whatever service you want, this is a search bar. You can easily figure out your services after entering your text here. This is just a search bar, right, guys? Then after this is known as Cloud Shell. What does it mean, Cloud Shell? So guys, for example, if you want that you would like to manage AWS component with some CLI tool. So you will be allowed to manage all the components of your EC2 of your like AWS infrastructure with the help of some CLI, like command line interface. For example, you would like to run some sort of like a script which you already have in place and you would like to execute that with some CLI. So that option is available over here. Waiting for the environment to run, guys, it will take some time. It takes some time, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, sometime it can take in order to provide you a particular AWS shell. That is available. This is okay. So this is a particular machine which is provisioned with some 30 GB of hard disk. Right, guys? 30 GB additional hard disk is available here. So these are the particular resources. And if you see here like overlay, which is clearly seen, this is running on some sort of container, right? Okay. So guys, if you see PS-EF, only one process is running here. Just to let you know, guys, that we were discussing about a couple of things that how do we identify Vinayak? Just to let you know that this is the only service which is running inside a container.
Okay. And sorry, but sir, after df-th, you said it is running on container by seeing that overlay. How we identify that overlay?
So basically, overlay is a storage device, like overlay and overlay 2. There are two driver types which I'm quite aware of. So these drivers are basically used to manage storage for containers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So guys, once again, we are back to that this environment, which is our GUI. So this is a global view, guys. We can see like all the machines which are created across the globe, because if we see here, this is notification center. Like if any ongoing issues are there, schedule changes, other notification events log. If you need to like open any support case, if you want to like if you already created a ticket, you want to get some update on that, this is global, right? If you need to change your availability zone, if you need to change your region, then definitely, guys, you can switch your region from this particular location. This is my account information, like my account ID, account information, organization, quota, billing, every single component, you can figure it out here. So now once again, let's begin with EC2 section. Now guys, we are going to create one EC2 machine. So guys, when we try to create one EC2 machine, we will hit here like launch instance. So guys, what is this? Choose an Amazon machine image. Usually if you are a beginner, then definitely, guys, what happens here is some like people are going to ask you like what is the difference, like what is difference between an instance and an image, or what is AMI? So guys, what we have to explain here is like Amazon machine image. AMI stands for Amazon machine image. And what is it actually? So an AMI is a template. Obviously, you can add OS here, and AMI is an OS template that contains software configuration, which includes operating system, application server, and other applications required to launch your instance. So now guys, once again, there is a particular term here which is known as instance. So the particular component which we were knowing as EC2 machine, which we were knowing as virtual server, virtual machine, so that is known as instance here, right, guys? So yes, that virtual machine is known as instance here. Right, guys? Okay. Now, if you see here, that what are the type of images do we have? So first of all, we have Amazon Linux image. Now, it is showing the different kernel version here. Like it is running with kernel version, kernel 5.1. Over here, it is running with kernel 4.14. and both the machines are free tier eligible. So guys, whenever we are going to create our machine, and especially we are planning to do some R&D only, we are in learning phase. So guys, please keep this thing in mind. Do not use any such image where free tier eligible is not written. Otherwise, you may end up paying some unwanted charges to AWS in order to use that image. Are we clear with that thing, guys?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, these are my AMIs. So for example, if you have created an image earlier and you want to reuse that, so you can go to this particular section, AWS Marketplace. So a lot of vendors are providing their services on the top of AWS, such as you would like to work with Barracuda Firewall, you want to work with Juniper, Trend Macro, like and this particular N2WS backup and recovery, OpenVPN, Splunk, right? For example, you would like to work with DevOps tool. So there are a lot of DevOps tool available, such as you would like to work with here Nginx, you would like to work here with WordPress, right? LAMP stack you would like to work with, Red Hat with high availability, cloud hosted router, right? Like Cyber Panel you want to go for. So these are the particular like components which you can figure out under Marketplace. Moreover, not only this, if you would like to go for like agile management, if you would like to go for some other component, you can definitely figure it out here. Okay, then we have like community AMIs. Guys, it is usually not recommended to use community AMIs directly into your production environment. It is recommended that if you really want to use any community AMI in your production environment, then in that particular case, first of all, you need to test that AMI in your development environment. You need to get the particular security check done on your that platform. If everything goes well, your security team say that everything is working fine, there is no issues found, only in that particular case, you guys will be allowed to push that image to production environment, because it may also happen. For example, I created a virtual machine and wantedly I installed some miscellaneous software on that and some harmful software on that, and you have chosen that AMI and that AMI is available, right? And you are going to use that. What would happen in that particular case, guys? So that harmful software will definitely enter into your production environment, and that will be really harmful for you, right, guys? So it is not recommended to use community AMIs directly into a production environment. Okay, now let us go back to quick start. So guys, what are the particular components we need to keep in mind while we are selecting any AMI? Anyone can help me with that? Like, what are the components do we need to keep in mind while selecting AMI?
Which operating system we want to work with, and what are the software packages we need, likewise.
Okay, any other one?
Linux kernel.
Linux what? Linux kernel. Okay, great. What else?
Like which type of volume we want.
Okay, which type of volume you want? Good. So let me tell you that what are the things which we need to keep in mind at the time of selecting an AMI. First of all, that Amazon Linux 2 AMI, right? So it supports HVM, hardware volume, like hardware virtualization manager. It supports hardware assisted virtualization. It supports the kernel version of this particular AMI is 5.10. This supports SSD volume. There are two AMIs. Like this is the first AMI. The architecture of this AMI is like 64-bit x86. The another one is 64-bit ARM. So these are two different hardware type. These are two different hardware which are supported by AWS as of today, right? So we need to select this one as well. There are going to be some different performance of these EC2 machines. So we need to be very, very careful at the time of selection of these like different AMIs. Moreover, these machines are cheaper in comparison to this one. Like cost is different, and obviously when it comes to cost, so even the performance is also different here, right, guys? When we are talking about the performance, so the even cost will also impact.
And can we say these are the types? Like, if anyone asking, I got that question in interview. What are the types of AMI? Then can we say like these are the category? Can we say categories, or how you can define like types of
Okay, so
which type
there
of
are
AMI?
two different CPU architecture based categorization of this AMI. So definitely there are a lot of AMIs available based on operating system, like based on provider, like obviously you can get Mac, like Mac OS also you can get as an image on AWS platform. But these are like architecture independent AMI. For example, if you select this one, you will get Intel processor. If you get this one, you will get Graviton processor. There is a particular processor which is in-house developed by AWS itself, and that is known as Graviton. That is why it is cheaper.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So over here we are going to see root device type is going to be EBS, Elastic Block Storage. It is going to be. One more thing, guys, we need to keep in mind, like virtualization type, that should be HVM. There is one more which is known as para virtual, but we are not going to go with that. Whenever we are going to select an image, so we need to ensure that we are going to work with HVM only. ENA, what does it mean, guys? ENA? Yes, guys, what is this ENA?
No, no idea, sir.
Okay, not a problem. So for example, you have selected one machine, you have created one server, and now there is a requirement that you need to add one additional machine or one additional interface, one additional LAN card with that machine. So will that machine support, or will that server support additional LAN card association with that? So Elastic Network Escalator is the particular full form of this ENA. Yes, this will support. So in our case, guys, what we are going to do, we are going to select Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 HVM. This is the particular machine which we are going to select, and hardware type we are going to go with x86 64-bit, right, guys? Shall we select this?
Yes, yes. And
Okay,
for that, Intel processors is getting selected right now.
right. Now, guys, if you have worked in real production environment, then you should be knowing about this particular thing. And obviously, like if you're going to face an interview, and that is also going to be for AWS certified solution architect or maybe AWS admin, this question will definitely be asked. Like, on what basis do you suggest the EC2 machine type? There are a lot of machines available, like you can go with like 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM, you can go with 36 CPU and 60 GB of RAM, you can go with 48, 96, 64, or maybe you can go with 96 CPU and 192 GB of RAM, right? So on what basis do you recommend that what type of machine should be allocated?
One more adding in that, how do you get the requirement, and how you select the EC2 machine for that
Yes, so the
requirement?
particular question remains same. Either you can say like how do you get the requirement, or how do you suggest the operating system. For example, that you have got a requirement, but right now there has to be a particular discussion which is going to take place, such as that, okay, on what basis are you going to recommend the particular machine size, or on what, like how do you get requirement? For example, that you have said in interview that there is a particular Jira ticket, or there is a particular ServiceNow ticket which is raised and which is assigned to DevOps team or maybe to our AWS admin team. Based on that, AWS team works, and AWS team will notify all other users that, okay, we are working on this. After that, if DevOps team or maybe AWS admin team identifies that the particular required machine type is not the appropriate one, maybe it is like developers have requested for some like additional space which is actually not required, or the developer which are requesting that the machine type should be XYZ, then they have requested for some less resources. In production environment, if traffic amount is going to be this much, then this will not work. So on what basis do we define, or do we suggest that okay, what should be the particular ideal size of this EC2 machine? So guys, how do we identify that? Only that person can answer the question if the person has really been part of that organization where these things are taking place. So now up to you guys, how you are going to explain that. Anyone can help me with that?
Based on requirement, means if it is for general purpose or it for high memory or for high processing power. So based on this, there are different type of instance.
Okay, let me give you a requirement. I am going to host a new microservice based on Java. I am expecting 2000 TPS, 2000 transaction per second. I am expecting on that service. Then what machine will you recommend? That is going to be for production. Jitendra.
We need to search, means I think there is one AWS also provide us one URL, I think, where we can search means what is requirement done according to requirement, which EC2 instance suits us.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Actually, it is not.
Okay. Okay.
They can just give recommendation. They cannot let us know the actual instance type. So how do we define that in real world? So okay, first of all, whenever we are going to work or we are going to create a machine into production. So guys, there are different type of environments. First of all, we have dev environment, right? Dev means development environment. Then after we have a particular environment for QA. QA stands for quality assurance environment. The name is QA, quality assurance environment. Then after we have another environment which is known as SIT.
Sir, I would like to answer that question. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I
Please
want
answer.
to be like I answered in such manner, like we do have the meetings regarding the requirements with the DevOps teams, developer team. They give we ask them how many number of transactions they want, and what is the exact requirement from the customer's end, and what are the kind of software they are going to install, like they want to run on that particular server. According to that, we launch the EC2 machine. Just I have given this random answer because I don't know, sir, how to tackle with that. So is it kind of correct to get the requirement in that way and then discuss, or please correct if I have answered it wrong.
So if you feel that you have answered it wrong, then you are right.
That's why I want to be wrong, because I want to correct myself.
See, even I did not say that you are wrong. I said that if you think that you have answered in wrongly manner, then you are right. I said that you are right. Why would I say you are wrong? Okay, not
hello,
a problem. Yeah.
sir. You said that there is no any URL. Can you search on Google like AWS pricing calculator?
Pricing calculator is a different thing, buddy.
Means they provide us like something, na? Means you can select your instance and according to that, what is the instance capacity?
That is
They will provide the price
wait.
estimation for the that instance. Yeah.
Wait, please. So over here, the particular thing which we are looking for, that is known as instance type. You can go for comparison here. For example, C5.4x large. This is first instance type. Second is M5.4x large. Third type here is R5.4x large. I guess you are talking about this one there. This is going to say like 16 CPU, it has 32 GB of RAM, 64 GB of RAM, 128 GB. What is network speed? What is price? I guess you are talking about this URL, right?
Yes, sir. Means one also is there. Means when we search in Google, AWS price calculator, so they provide us complete budget.
So we are not talking about budget. The AWS calculator.
Price calculators.
So there is one URL hosted on S3. So either you can go with this or you can go with like calculator S3 or Amazon.com. Any of the like URL you can open here. But once again, like the particular create estimate. So over here, you will have to enter a particular information. Okay, based on what? Like what are the particular component you are going to select? So over here, you will have to provide an piece of information. You have to provide like what EC2 machine you are going to use. That was the question. The question remains same. Like on what basis you are going to say, okay, we are going to use this type of machine. For example, yes. So on what basis you are going to say that you will be using C5.4x large or M5.4x large or R5.4x large? On what basis you are going to define this?
Exactly. I do have
The
the same
question is this: calculate. Okay, why do we need to go for calculation? Because once we have, when we will need to go for identification of like overall price. Once we have identified, okay, this is the particular instance type which we are going to use. Let us say we have identified that 5 load balancer we are going to use. Out of 5, 3 are going to be application and 2 are going to be network load balancer. Once again, that we have identified that each EC2 machine will be running at least with 30 GB of disk space. Overall 30 instance we will be running. So 30 to 30 equal to 900, like 900 GB of disk space we shall be consuming. So this pricing calculator is going to help you in that particular case when you have the particular component that which you are going to use. This will help you to calculate overall charges, overall prices. This will help you to calculate. But on what basis you are going to select this? For example, you do not know whether you are going to use Amazon carrier IP address. Do you need to use or not? If you are going to use, how much traffic will you be consuming over here? For example, you are going to use CloudFront. You do not have an idea like how much overall traffic will be like routed through CloudFront, how many requests per second you will be serving, what all edge locations are there where from you will be accepting traffic. You do not have an idea like what are the particular location of your customers where you need to store your data on edge locations. If you have this sort of estimation only in that particular case, this is going to help you. So Jitendra, that is the particular use case which we are trying to identify, that based on what we are going to select a specific type of instance. Once we have identified the instance, then definitely this will help.
Yes, got it, sir.
And
Are
with
we
this
clear with
question,
this
I
thing,
came
guys?
to know, sir, when I got that question, I came to know just saying I have worked on AWS and just practicing on free tier account is different, and actually working is different. Like
Come
this
again?
type of question. I said just saying I have worked on AWS by showing the experience, and actually working on the production environment is different. And with this type of question, we came to know what we do, like how and where we are. At that time, I realized actually how can we tackle with this type of question,
So,
because the
buddy,
person.
that is why I'm trying to explain that if you really have to show that you have worked in production environment, then you should be knowing about these things, right?
Right.
Okay. So, what do we do here? First of all, let us say there is a microservice. Let us call it MS1. Microservice 1. This is going to be live. Now, this is based on Java. For example, this microservice is based on Java, right? The Java version here is, let us say, 1.8, right? JDK 1.8 we are using.
Okay.
Java Development Kit version 1.8 we are using. Fine. Moreover, the particular heap size we have defined, the VM, that the particular memory which we have allocated to this particular virtual machine, that is, for example, 2 GB, right? Now, based on this particular memory allocation, because whenever we are going to run any microservice, that should be allocated some amount of RAM. Then after, we need to do the same thing with development environment. So let us say when a developer is performing this, developer has kept this amount of RAM only to 1 GB. For example, developer has tested the function properly. Now QA team whenever this particular code will be handed over to QA team, now guys, QA team is going to be responsible to analyze that what is the performance of this. First of all, they will do function testing. Then after, they will deploy the same service to SIT environment. SIT stands for System Integration Test. Such as, we are not changing any feature here. Guys, listen to me carefully. Developer is not changing any feature or any functionality. But right now, what developer is going to do, developer is going to upgrade the version. For example, earlier developer was using Java version 1.8, and the subversion of this Java was, let us say it is .0.123. This was the minor version of Java, right? But within this particular release, what is happening, the developer is trying to increase the version from like 987, like that way. So what is happening here, we are not changing any other component, but what we are doing here is based on the developer requirement or based on the like security team observation, maybe some audit requirement. Right now, developer is enforced to upgrade the Java version because there was some vulnerabilities within previous version of Java. So guys, before pushing it to production, we have to ensure that if Java is upgraded on this particular microservice, so how will it be performing after being pushed to production environment? Right, guys? We will have to ensure like what is the performance of this microservice once it is pushed to production environment. Where we are going to test it in SIT, System Integration Test. No customer is available here. No customer is hitting this environment. This environment is going to have production like replica. This is going to be replica of production. For example, whatever software we are going to install in production environment, so same software are tested here within this SIT. Moreover, there are two different teams. First of all, we can call that maybe AWS admin. AWS admin, we can call it. We can call it TechOps. We can call it DevOps, right? So basically, DevOps is a bridge between developer and operation team. Fine, guys. So DevOps team will perform the sanity on this particular platform. DevOps team is going to perform the sanity on this particular platform. Moreover, the particular documentation, DevOps team will be responsible to create documentation. You can call that SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. DevOps team is going to create. And guys, why is that going to be there? Why it is going to happen? So guys, we need to ensure that whenever the particular TechOps team is going to ensure or going to like perform this activity of Java upgradation in production environment, they should be knowing like what are the precautions we need to take in order to upgrade the Java version. Are we clear with that, guys? Moreover, first of all, developers will test while they are upgrading the Java. QA will check that whether any functionality has been like touched upon or not. Everything should be remain intact. Moreover, on SIT environment, we are going to see the performance of it. For example, like if let us write a like business logic here. If 500 TPS is there, if 500 TPS is there for 30 minutes in consecutive manner, for regular 30 minutes, we are going to see that if 500 TPS is there, then what is the performance of this physical server or with this virtual machine where this microservice is running. Moreover, if we allocate 1 GB of RAM, then what is going to be performance? What is going to be response of it, right? If we increase RAM to 2 GB, so for example, till the time the RAM was 1 GB and TPS was 500 for 30 minutes, response count of this service was, let us say, 200 ms. Once again, what we did here is after 30 minutes, we increased the RAM to 4 GB, right? And this particular performance like has been improved. Now it has come down to 160 ms, right, guys? So these are the test cases which we have to perform. Moreover, if number of users are increased up to 1,000, the memory remains same. The particular performance of this application goes to, let us say, 210 ms for 30 minutes. But if we are going to increase, we are going to remain TPS as 1,000, RAM allowed, that is 4 GB, and we have increased this time to maybe 120 minutes, 100 like 2 hours, right? So in this particular case, guys, we know very well that there are two things which are known as heap size. GC, like garbage collector, right? Thread dump. So there are three main components which we need to ensure, like what is the result of thread dump, what is the status of like garbage collector, how much amount of heat is being utilized, the particular amount of memory which is allocated here, so how much amount of RAM is being utilized here. So based on this performance, for example, our business team says that even if the particular response of this microservice goes 250, like 250 milliseconds, we are happy. We do not want to allocate additional resources. But if your business team says the response time is really high, we need to do something for this. We would like to bring it down to up to 110 milliseconds, right? So what we are going to do, we will have to allocate the amount of size. Let us say it is up to 10 GB, for example. So 10 GB of disk space, we will have to allocate, 10 GB of RAM, we will have to allocate to this particular microservice, which is running on Java. If it is this, like 10 GB of memory we are having 10,000, like 1000 TPS for 120 minutes. So average response time for this request is going to be 100, like 110 ms. Are we clear with this?
Okay. Yes.
Let us take another use case. If this transaction is going to increase up to 2000 TPS, we are going to run the particular test only for 30 minutes. Then this particular response time has been has touched 300 ms, which is beyond the expectation limit. Now we will have to work upon something. Now what happened? We increased this memory because obviously we have doubled the user. We have increased the memory up to 20 GB, but this is not coming down because of any reason. This is not coming down less than 270, which is again beyond the expectation. So what we are going to do here is, the best use case was that in this particular case, like the particular Java version which we are using, the particular heap size which we have allocated, the machine or the particular code which we have written, that is actually not in going beyond 1000 TPS in any use case. So what would happen here? We will once again analyze that if the requests are 1000 TPS and the response time is 110 millisecond. So what we are going to do, rather than increasing the size of resources onto the same JVM or onto the same Java based virtual machine, we are going to create two JVMs here. One JVM plus one JVM, like two JVMs we will have here. It means 1000 TPS is the particular maximum amount of traffic which a single JVM can handle. So these are the use cases which we have to discuss at the time of interview. Like this is how we analyze that what type of resources are required. For example, if like we have launched two machines or two JVMs on the same machine, on different ports, we have managed to run two different same microservices into two different JVMs. What would happen? RAM is fine, everything remains fine, but the load on the server is increasing. Earlier, what we were having here, let us say we were running with 8 CPU and 16 GB of RAM we were using, or let us say 32 GB of RAM we were using, right? But as soon as we replicated this particular service on two different ports, so what happened? The load of CPU start going high. So that is more than 30% utilized. 30% CPU is being utilized. As soon as we replicated it, it is reaching 90%. So based on the all use cases, like if TPS is 1000, run time is 30 minutes, response time is 110. This is what we want, because sometimes what may happen here is, we have ideally suggested that 2000 TPS is going to be there, but what if there are maybe 24,000, like 2400 TPS is there on both the machines, 1200 TPS on each machine is there. So this particular response time may increase maybe up to 140. Right, guys? In that case, we will have to increase amount of CPU as well on this particular server. So these many things are done before finalizing the type of resource which we want, like how many CPUs will be good enough, how much amount of RAM will be associated or will be selected at the time of machine creation. So these many steps we have to perform in order to create one EC2 machine, guys. Are we clear with this?
So, sir, in some, sir, as I understood, sir, they are developing the software.
Nitin, can you please speak a little louder?
Sir, I'm saying, sir, they are developing the resources for both hard.
You went on mute.
सर वो कॉल आ गया था सर दे आर डेवलपिंग द सॉफ्टवेयर एंड हार्डवेयर रिसोर्सेज or
So
deciding what can I say?
Okay, so let us say if there is a memory leakage, let us say if the particular developer who has developed the application which is running in as this microservice MS1, so if there are memory leakage, they are using that sort of like open source library which are consuming a lot of memory, which are opening a lot of threads, right, which are not closing the connection once it once the request is completed. So ideally an application has to close the connection. The application is designed in this way, like these are not reusing the open connection, so there could be some application configuration issues as well.
Okay.
Right, so in order to do that sort of thing, the developer will have to look for the optimization of the application.
Optimization of application. Okay, sir. Okay.
Right, so based on this particular environment, we will have to look for optimization, and whatever changes we have done here, finally those things will be replicated to production environment. And in order to let them know that okay, what are the changes that have been made here, like first of all we will go here and we will work upon this particular component. Just a moment, guys. Yes. Okay, so based on this particular requirement, like whatever things we have done, we will create a SOP. Like these are the particular parameters which we have selected here. This is the amount of volume, this is the amount of traffic which we have handled. This is the number of TPS which we have handled, for what amount of time we did this. Because see, in SIT we can run test maximum for 8 hours. Let us say 8 hours. But in production there will be regularly this much amount of traffic on production environment, right? So that is why the particular optimization which we have done on this SIT environment, the same component, same configuration set will be replicated onto production environment.
Okay, sir. Understood.
So guys, I hope that the particular point is clear here. Like on what basis do we select a particular EC2 machine type? It is not that hard and fast. Okay, let us go and let us create M2.4x large or M5.4x large. No, it is not like that. We have to go for load testing. And this particular component which we are discussing, like sometimes we are increasing RAM, sometimes we are increasing amount of CPU, sometimes we are increasing the time over here, like the particular runtime we are increasing, for how long we are testing it. We are testing it for 30 minutes, or the particular ramp up time. For example, we need to see the performance very fast. So for example, we initiated the request with maybe 100 requests, 100 requests. So for first 5 minutes, the users were 100, right? And we kept 100 users for 5 minutes. Then after, we increased number of users to 100. And obviously it was running for, let us say for 10. Guys, just a moment.
So is anybody there?
Yes, sir, got a call.
Okay. So in developer environments, we actually decide what kind of, according to the traffic and according to the speed, what we are going to decide what kind of resources that we are going to satisfy the business requirement.
Right.
And then we use it on SIT, and then that is replicated to production environment.
You're right. So
For
okay.
last minute I got disconnected, sir. Is it like every time whenever the requirement getting changed, okay, we are launching the EC2 machine and then checking the that requirement is getting fit, or how? Like,
okay, so this is also a use case here which I was about to explain. So First of all, we will start with 100 TPS for 5 minutes. We will increase 100 users or 100 TPS for next 5 minutes. It means overall time will be 10 minutes. Then after this time, we are going to increase it to 400. And this time will be, let us say, like 2 minutes only. We will keep 400 users for 2 minutes. We have suddenly, just in order to see if there is a particular spike in traffic in real world, in real time, in real production environment, what is going to be a performance of this. So let us say if there are suddenly user increase, this time reaches to 180 milliseconds. Once again, what we are going to do, we are going to keep the users as 450, and the particular time, that particular time will be 5 minutes only. Going forward, what we are going to do, we will increase it to, let us say, 750, 300 TPS we have increased suddenly, and the particular amount of time which was given for this particular connection, increment, that was 1 minute only. Like within 1 minute, the particular number of connection went from 450 to 750. So in that particular case, what happened? The response time went from 170 to 240. Every sort of request, every sort of like use case, we have to prepare in order to go for load testing, or you can call it performance testing on application. Now, when it is done, so before every release, do we do like this? No. So guys, whenever there are major changes, let us say there is a version upgrade, there is a technology like stack upgrade. For example, right now we are using Java 7 and we are upgrading to Java 8. Obviously, load testing will be required. For example, we are using Spring Boot version 2.2 right now, and we are upgrading it from 2.2 to 3.1. Then like load testing will be required. So whenever there are major changes going to be, only in those use cases, the particular load testing will be required. Otherwise not. For example, there is a bug fix, such as a user gets logged out once he logs in, or maybe if a user is like not performing any operation. For example, you logged into your Flipkart application, maybe to your WhatsApp. So just take a use case. For example, if you did not perform any activity in WhatsApp for 10 minutes, there is a particular bug that you will be logged out from your account. Once again, you will have to sign in, you will define your number, you will enter your OTP, and that's all, right? So if you are logged out again and again, a particular user will get frustrated and may leave the particular application forever. So in order to fix this bug, what is required? The particular check, which is checking the ideal time, that line has to be commented out, or that Boolean value has to be like enabled or disabled. So just to like perform this sort of activities, there is no load test required. Are we clear with this thing, guys?
Yes, sir. But as I said, every time when we are changing, like first of all, I would like to ask, TPS and RPS are same, like transaction per second and request per second are same, right?
Right.
I want to clarify myself. Okay. First, okay. Second one, as I said, like every time while we are checking load, I understood when major changes will in the environment, that time we only check the load. But every time if you are trying to check the load by changing the transaction per second and time of that all, every time we launch EC2 machine, or how do we check? And one more question is in the same manner, like how we check the transition per second? Like actually we need to, if one user is going to visit that website, then it will be considered as one transaction, and then and in terms of that 750 transaction, how we check, like
Okay.
physically
So
7.
for that there is a particular software which is required, which is known as APM, Application Performance Monitoring. That particular software will read the response time from your every single request that will display on a dashboard. So what happens here is, not only this microservice is responsible for entire application stack. What happens, let us say, as soon as number of connections on this microservice is increasing, so this is not the only service which is going to impact. For example, if there are some other components, for example, there is a particular database which is known as MySQL, right? There is another component which is known as Redis. There is another component which is known as Elasticsearch. Right? So these are three components here. So just try to understand. My application is performing well, no problem at all. But as soon as the response time of this application starts increasing, MySQL goes down, or maybe MySQL is taking a lot of time to resolve the queries or to serve the queries. Redis is not serving well. Elasticsearch went down. This application stopped performing well. So there is a logic that that Elasticsearch fetches the data from MySQL and serves to this application. But we have written a logic that if Elasticsearch goes down, then it starts fetching data directly from MySQL. As soon as this particular connection from here to here, it is switched, application performance goes down. So we do not monitor only this application. We have to monitor the entire application stack. Like when there is maybe 1200 TPS, so what is the performance of MySQL, Redis, and Elasticsearch, or maybe some other components as well, which are lying in your infrastructure? Because single microservice will not do anything. It depends on multiple factors, like what other downstream services are there in order to identify that, okay, if I increase TPS, then what other components are like having load on it. I hope that is clear now, guys. And guys, why we are investing this much time onto this discussion? Because guys, these are the things which will help you to prove that yes, you have worked in a real world or real production environment.
So, sir, in dev environment in which we are doing all testing like TPS and this all, on which instance type this is our application is installed?
Okay, so let me tell you, for dev, we can begin with very small amount of size. Let us say we can begin with 4 CPU and 8 GB of RAM, like T3 type of instances we can work with. But keep this thing in mind when we go to production and we have to identify or we have to finalize the instance type. So based on this particular stuff in SIT environment, we can change our instance type in dev as well. Because we need to understand, first of all, the requirement that the particular application which we have built is CPU intensive or memory intensive, that requires CPU in more capacity or that requires memory in more capacity.
Right, and at the initial stage, developer also might don't know about that requirement, right?
Right. So what happens at the time of like initial phase, developer start doing development based on the particular technology stack, whatever is recommended or whatever is suggested, right? So developer will start development and the developer does not focus majorly onto the optimization of that code. Once there is a particular problem, let us say if the TPS is maybe 200, response time is going maybe let us say 740, like 940 millisecond. It means there is a problem with that. Maybe like we have allocated for like 16 CPU and 32 GB of RAM, and still response time is not coming below 940 millisecond only for 200 TPS, wherein we given a target for 1200 TPS. It means developer has to modify something. Developer will have to modify the code or will optimize the code, right? So these are the scenarios using which we identify and we have to select that what kind of optimization is required. Whenever optimization is done, DevOps team will be responsible to create SOP and share it with TechOps team in order to deploy the same changes in production environment. Are we clear with this thing, guys? Any questions so far?
So, sir, developer in developer environment, developers just develop the software. SIT tests it and decides what kind of optimization has to be changed. Then development and sends back to development team, and they create an SOP, finalize SOP according to the reports of the SIT, and then forward it to TechOps to do the things and production environment.
There is only one gap which like I would like to fulfill. Dev team does not create SOP. SOP is created by your DevOps team, not by the dev team.
Okay. DevOps. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Right, so sir.
Because DevOps is a like bridge between dev and ops.
Right, sir.
Right. And what I understood, initially we take the small instance type, we try to test our environment, and then if required, we change that type or we increase the resources, right?
Right, and obviously, like we have a particular like setup, so we may have that sort of setup as well. Let us say if a developer is working from like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. only, then we will have the infrastructure up and running. Otherwise, we will stop all the resources in order to save cost. Only in non-prod environment. For example, Like once in a week, we have to give UAT, like UAT test cases are supposed to be fired by business team once a week, only then we will start it. Otherwise it is going to be in a stopped state. Same thing goes with SIT. Whenever performance testing has to be done, we will enable this environment. Otherwise we will keep it stopped. Same thing goes with dev and QA environment. So developers and QAs are mostly engaged in doing development and testing. So these two environments will be up and running only in daytime or only in weekdays, not in weekends. If required, we can enable it. So that is also
Like-
use case that we do not run our services 24/7. Obviously, we cannot like that. That cannot be the use case for prod environment. Do not say we do not run prod for 24/7.
Like you mean to say whichever the environment like DevOps or QA environment, we do have the separate EC2 instances, and we stop that how in night time or how, like what
Yes.
you
So
mean to say?
whenever we are talking about like non-production environment, once the developers, the testers, the business team are not accessing the environment, we can stop that. That particular thing can, or the particular time window for stopping the instances can be decided mutually by developers, by testers, by business, by DevOps, by TechOps. Every single team will be sitting on a like table, or they all will be in a meeting. They will decide that, okay, on what particular time we can stop the instance to save the cost. That will be a mutual agreement. Moreover, we need to identify this thing as well. For example, if there is an exceptional use cases, let us say today is Saturday and there has to be a release which is supposed to be pushed to production on Sunday itself. There is a bug which is really critical that is impacting entire production environment, right? So maybe on Saturday we may have to enable the environment. That will be exceptional thing. But yes, on regular basis, if there are no development being done on weekend, then we can stop the machines on weekend and we can consume that as per our requirement.
Okay, understood.
I hope I make myself clear on this.
Yes, sir. Yes, and each and every environment has different EC2 instances, and according to
Yes.
requirement, we start and stop that. Okay.
Yes. So guys,
And
any
according to requirement, we can.
question?
Yeah,
And sir,
hello.
according to requirement, we can change the types also.
Obviously,
in
I have already
each and every
explained that,
environment. Yes. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Jitendra.
Sir, actually, we are not working in IT environment. Okay, I still don't have answer to your question that you initially asked, na? For 1000 TPS, which instance type you prefer?
Okay. So once you will identify that how much amount of CPU is being consumed, how much amount of RAM is required, so you will analyze it. After that, you will go to AWS and you will go to this particular section, like instance type, and over here you will identify. For example, you need 8 CPU and 32 GB of RAM. So you will be able to identify here that 8 CPU is required here and 32 GB of RAM, right? So T2, T3.2x large is the instance type, which is fit for you. Let us go down because now you have identified, okay, this is the first instance which you require. Second here is, once again, let us go here like C5.2x large. This is second type of instance, but over here memory is not sufficient because you want 32 GB of RAM. Let us go down once again. Once again, you want here M like C5D. This is not the instance because RAM is less here. This way you will have to identify, let us say M like C5 dot 4x large. Over here you have 16 CPU. It means this will not be the use case for you, because why would you have additional CPU, right? You would look for any other type of instance like M5 dot 4x large. This provides 16 CPU and like 64 GB of RAM. So what is the best instance type for you? There is only one, that is T3.2x large, because you need 8 CPU and 32 GB of RAM. But these type of instances are not recommended for production environment. These types of instances are not recommended for production environment. So guys, keep this thing in mind. The major type of instances which are used into production, these are C5.4x large, just C5.large, 4x large, that will be a different thing, but I'm going to tell you something else here. So guys, over here, like if it is C class, it provides 1/2 ratio. 16 CPU, 32 GB of RAM, like 1/2. One CPU and 2 GB of RAM is associated with this type of machines, right? M5 series provides you the ratio of 1/4. One CPU and 4 GB of RAM. 16 into 4 equal to what? 64.
Right.
And
Right.
this particular type of instance provides 1/8 ratio, 1 CPU and 8 GB of RAM.
Okay.
So that will be depending on your use case, like the particular use case which will come out of this particular calculation. So based on that, you will have to decide that what is the particular type of instance which you are going to choose in order to run your production infrastructure. So majorly C5 series, like C5.large, C2.2x large, 3x large, 4x large, whatever, or maybe 5 or like M5 or R5. These are the three instance types which are majorly used for production use cases. And T3, T2, these are the use cases which are usually used in non-production environment, maybe dev, SIT, UAT, and others, because these are cheaper ones. You can see the price here. Right, guys?
So, sir, our answer should be like that. Firstly, we have to test as per your TPS, which how many CPU or memory should be required, and based on that.
No, dear, it should not be like that. It should be that you will be answering in such a way that majorly we are using C5, M5, and R5 class in our environment based on requirement. So if the person says, okay, how the requirement is generated, so you can say that before making any new service live onto production environment, we go for load testing, and like we identify, we ask business team what is going to be TPS and what is expected response time, which will be acceptable by you, right? Based on that use cases, we do load testing, and we finalize with the help of like testers and developers that what should be the ideal use case.
Okay.
First of all, you will answer in such a way that usually you guys use C5, M5, and R5 instance type in production environment. And later on, if they are going to ask, and then how do you identify this? Then you will say that based on the business use cases, we ask business team for the response time, for the TPS. We ask our QA engineers to run some test cases and to generate some random load on the servers, to have some test cases which are already automated. Based on that, we generate like random traffic, or we generate some like artificial traffic in order to perform like required TPS, and then we finalize the instance size.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Any other one has any question? Anyone getting bored so far?
No, not at all, sir.
No, sir, it keeps getting excitement. I'm very excited to learn more.
Yes, because it is getting more to more information.
Okay, Root, Dheeraj, any question?
No, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Any other one? No question means.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. I'm Maniandan. I'm a new joinee.
Okay.
I just joined now, so I don't know what are going before that session. So just please give me a summary. What is going on?
So the summary is that we are trying to identify that how do we select an instance type in production environment. So like on what basis, like what are the different environment do we have it in one organization? So we have QA environment, we have dev environment, SIT, which stands for system integration test, UAT, user acceptance test, and finally we have prod environment. So on what environment, what sort of activities are performed, that sort of discussion we are taking, we are just doing right now.
And just question came in my mind, sir. If anyone asks how you decide the instance type in dev environment at very initial stage, then how could we answer?
Obviously, in order to answer this question, you will have to say that we begin with like bare minimum amount of resources which are allocated to a developer.
Okay.
Because you have to ensure the cost as well.
Right.
If developer is going to say that I want 32 GB of RAM, you can ask for the justification that why do you want to run 32 GB amount of RAM, right?
So
And if there is a requirement, then definitely there is a particular use case that that thing will be done based on use cases like that. Okay, so let's create EC2 machine. And guys, it's been approx 1.5 hours, and I could not initiate even creation of EC2 machine. And initially, when I was not trying to explain this thing, so it took hardly me 30 seconds only to create EC2 machine. So guys, now we are going to pick T2.micro machine. Over here, we are going to get one CPU, 1 GB of RAM, and low to moderate network speed we are going to get. So let's go ahead, because this is covered under free tier. So you will get a facility to run one EC2 machine for 1 calendar year for free without paying any single penny to AWS. Now guys, what is this? Number of instances you are going to launch, purchasing option we have. So guys, what is this purchasing option? What all purchasing options do we have in AWS? Yes, guys.
Like
Yeah.
on demand or schedule instance, reserve instance, spot instance. These are
Good. Very good. Okay, first of all, it is on demand. Then after it is
reserve. Spot.
reserve instance. Then after it is what is
Spot instance. Spot.
spot. Then after
schedule instance.
it is savings plan. Yes, yes, guys. So there are 4 different options to go to purchase the instance type, the instances, or you can call it compute capacity. So guys, is there anyone who can help me understand what is the difference between on demand, reserve, spot, and savings plan? Guys, if you know these things, only then you can prove that yes, you have worked in a real environment. Otherwise, I can guarantee you will not be able to prove. By creating EC2 machine, okay, let me tell you one thing. How do we create EC2 machine? Once again, I'm going to give you a demo. Forget about all the options. Hit next, add storage, and add security group. Click and hit launch, select key, and that is it. How long did it take? Hardly 10 seconds to create one EC2 machine. And guys, it's been more than 1.5 hours. I have been explaining only how to create EC2 machine. Right, guys?
Right.
Because
Right.
only clicking on these particular buttons does not make any difference. What makes a difference here is that the particular options, whatever and wherever you are trying to click, what does it mean? If we are going to purchase EC2 machine, on what basis we are going to purchase? What are the best options available? If you are working with an organization, then what should be the best strategy which you are applying in order to save cost? If you save cost, only then your increment will happen.
Correct.
That is the thing. And these are the things, guys, which are going to help you to prove that yes, you are working in a real environment, and yes, you can really be beneficial for your organization. Okay. So guys, first of all, let us say I am going to create 4 EC2 machines. 4 EC2. I'm going to create. The type of EC2 machine is like 2 machines, 2 VM I will create, and the type will be, for example, it is going to be M5.X large. Right? M5.large it is going to be. Second thing, one EC2 machine I'm going to create, one VM I will create, and type is going to be, let us say, C5.2X large. Third VM I'm going to create, then the type here is going to be R5.2X large. right? So guys, if I need to create 4 EC2 machines, how will I be notified, or how do I need to, how do I decide that it is going to be under on demand, it is going to be under reserve instance, it is going to be spot, or it is going to be under savings plan? On what basis do we decide this? Like on what basis do we decide the type of billing? It is under on demand, reserve instance, spot instance, and savings plan. How do we decide and how do we identify this, guys? That is what my question is.
By this first letters and EM is for memory optimized, seek for is compute, and X
Uh,
for
r-
size, I
Sorry,
think.
reserve instance, I think use for 1 to 3 year. Mostly company prefer reserve instance because there is a capacity guarantee. Okay. In case of on demand, there is no capacity guarantee. If there is no space in a hypervisor, so you have to wait in queue in case of on demand. And on spot instances, means you have instance as per the bid value. If someone pay high bid than yours, then your instance might be lost after some time.
Okay, any other one? Adam?
Oh, in the on-demand instance, if I am having the EC2 instance for the 6 months, at the time I will go with the on-demand. In the reserved instance, I have a requirement to create the instance for next 1 to 3 years. At that time, I will go with the reserved instances. Spot instances are temporary instance. If they have a AWS have a requirement, at that time, the spot instances will be terminated. They will give it 2 minutes before the intimation, before they terminate the instance.
Okay.
Uh,
Any other one?
I would like to say, like, whenever I want to check the high amount of compute or like application, and I will not care about the data loss. At that time, I would prefer a spot instance type to just checking purpose. On demand are the highly expensive, where the data is also important for me, and I want to check for just 1 or 2 months. At that time, I can prefer on demand. And reserve is like, I know these are the resources I want for at least 1 to 3 year. So at that time, I will go with the reserve instead to just save the price. In that way, I can go.
Okay. Any other one?
I would like I would like to say spot insistence is launching for instant basis. If my traffic in my website traffic is very high, so depends on the CPU utilization. I can set if my CPU utilization is more than 50%, then launch another EC2 instances. That is the spot instance I can.
Amar, you are right, but I think that you are taking the discussion into other direction. So you are talking about some sort of load balancing mechanism, or you are talking about auto scaling mechanism, right? So you are talking about some auto scaling group. That's not the use case here. We are talking about. Okay, let me come on to it. So let us say if I do not have reserve instance, because whenever I know that I am going to run one instance and the size is going to be, let us say, R5.8x large for 1 calendar year, I cannot, keep this thing in mind, guys, I cannot change the instance type, which is this. I cannot change the region like this. I cannot change the operating system. Let us say if I go to reserve instance, let me show you that in practical way. If I go to purchase reserve instance, guys, first of all, I will have to select the platform, like what type of operating system I'm going to select. Let us say I've selected Red Hat. What instance type is going to be, let us say I've selected this one. obviously I am not going to purchase it. I'm just showing an example because I really do not want an instance of this size. The tenancy, it is going to be default or dedicated. We will go with different term. Term means like any 1 to 12 months or 12 to 36 months. So I'll select this one. Obviously, offering class any. Now, guys, any means whatever AWS font can assign to us, but keep this name as convertible. For example, if you have a requirement that the instance type, which is right now R5.8xr, so you may want to have this as M5.8xr. Maybe within the particular ongoing span of time, ongoing period of 1 to 12 months, you may want to change the instance type. So that will be allowed. So you can define a convertible, right? Standard, if you select, it will not be changed later on, and moreover, you will not be allowed to change this particular offering class. Moreover, you will not be allowed to change the instance type. Okay, so payment option, no upfront. Every month, whatever the charges you are going to like, charges will be occurred in your account, that will be added with your bill. Partial upfront, for example, you know that the particular charges are going to be, for example, $10,000 for entire year. You would like to pay 3,000 upfront and 7,000 month by month you will be paying. So in that case, AWS will grant you some additional discount. All upfront, it means whatever the charges you are supposed to pay, you are going to pay in upfront, and in that particular case, AWS will allow you some additional discount on that because you are paying all the charges upfront. Are we clear with this?
Yes, sir. Yes. Just one point I would like to know. These are the all option we are seeing on the new environment, or we are using old dashboard, AWS dashboard.
Whether it is new dashboard, it is old dashboard, these options are going to remain same.
Okay, but just as a curiosity, like these are the
Yes,
new.
sir.
This is new. Okay.
So we are going to see these options everywhere. Okay, so if you see here, effective rate is this, hourly rate is going to be this, and once you add this particular like resource to your account, you will have to pay for it, right? Obviously, I'm not going to click it here because I'll have to pay because I cannot cancel this particular reserve instance. So guys, now let us say I have created one AC.
One more, sir. Sorry.
Please,
One more. Yes. For reserve instance, I do have that like perception that we need at least 1 year. But over here we can select 1 month to 12 months. Could you please explain about that? Do we need to reserve it for at least 1 year, or?
minimum 12 months.
But like while choosing the option
1
over
to
there, it's
12.
showing.
Okay, wait. 1 to 12 and 12 to 36. There are only two options. If you are selecting 12 months option, then 12 months will be will be fixed for you. You can change that instance type in between, but you cannot break the agreement.
Okay. Like it is for changing the instance type 1 to 12.
Yes.
Okay.
One more thing is here. Let us say today is 6th of August. 6th. Right? It is 22. After 4 months, let us say if it is like today, like 11th November 22, you thought that you do not want to have this type as this one, right? So it should be, let us say, C5.8x large. You thought to change the instance type, right? So what would happen? So ideally, your agreement should end up when on, let us say, 5th August 2023, right? But it will not happen. So your agreement with AWS will be renewed from this date, and your agreement will end up on 10th November 2023.
Like after updating the type.
Once you change your instance type, so let us say if you modified this instance maybe next month July, rather than writing it November, we can type here July or maybe March. So for approx one entire year you used it, right? So your agreement will end up within for example, you modified in 2023 So it will end up in 24. That is a trick here. For one calendar year, you will have to be in agreement with AWS in order to run an instance. That is a trick, and that is a challenge with your reserve instances.
And for first instance which we have taken, do we pay for 1 year enter, or and then after changing, do we need to pay again for new instance, or
So
how?
you will have to renew it after 1 year, or let us say if on 5th of August 2023, 2023, your agreement is completed, AWS will cancel your reserve instance plan, and that particular instance will be charged as onboarding price, like on demand price.
Right.
Now let me tell you something, guys, here. So let us say you have purchased this instance like C5.8x large, right? You created very first machine like C5.4x large, right? That is working fine because you already have an agreement that you are going to run your C5.8x large machine for 1 year. You created one EC2 machine. Let us keep it here. So like it will be charged under this category because you already have an agreement. So first of all, if there is going to be instance which is going to be chargeable, that will be charged under reserve instance. Moreover, let us say you created under another instance M5.2x large, that will be charged under on-demand category. Why is that so, guys? Because you do not have any agreement with AWS, because you only have agreement with C5.8x large. Once again, you created a particular instance, and that instance type is going to be, let us say, for example, it is going to be C5.2x large, right? That will be charged in this category. Now you created another instance. Let us say it is R5.x large. So how will it be charged?
R is for reserve, no? Or not like that?
Under on demand. Now once again you created C5 dot. Now there is a trick. C5.4x large. So how will it be charged?
It is second, that is
Reserve.
why it will be on demand.
Ideally, it should be reserved.
But we have agreed for one instance, no? Or
so up to 8x large, that will be calculated at the reserve instance price, and whatever resources we are going to create beyond that, that will be charged under on demand.
right. Okay.
Correct?
Okay.
Okay,
Now
sir.
let's talk about savings plan. So guys, savings plan says you have complete freedom. Neither you need to select operating system, neither you need to select region, anything you need not to select. What you need to select here is that I will be paying $5 per hour. I am going to sign an agreement with AWS that in order to use compute and memory power, I will be paying $5 per hour. For example, this costs $1, right? This costs, okay, let us say this is going to cost, let us say 0.5 USD, right? Overall is 1.5. This is going to cost, let us say 2.5, right? What is overall? 3 plus 1 equal to 4 USD. We need to create more resources. So what we are going to do, let us say we created another resource here. Forget about reserve because that is clear to us, right? So this is going to cost, for example, 2.5 USD, right?
Right.
How much overall it is? 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 2, 6.5. So overall, what is going to happen here, guys? Up to $5, we can push it to under savings plan. One, we can push it to, okay, not this one. We can push it to savings plan. We can push it to savings plan. Let us migrate from this to here. Like this. So guys, if these two machines are going to be $5 per per hour, So these two machines will be charged under savings plan, and whatever is not covered under savings plan, that will be charged as on demand. What did I say? Irrespective of instance type, irrespective of operating system, irrespective of your region, your availability zone, anything. So AWS will charge you $5 per hour, that will be covered under savings plan. AWS is going to provide you additional discount for making commitment with them. And beyond that, whatever the charge is going to be there in your account, that will be charged under on demand. Clear with this? The major difference between reserve instance and savings plan here is, in this particular case, you have to be very careful while you are selecting the instance type. So you have to make a commitment based on instance type, instance size, or maybe you can call that availability zone, the operating system, the offering class, everything. You will have to have a commitment with AWS in order to go for reserve instance, wherein you have complete flexibility. In case of savings plan, you can go with any availability zone, any region, any OS, any offering class. So all the charges, all the amount which occurs, and that will be covered under savings plan first, and later on, based on the requirement, if you add more resources, for example, you created one more resources here, and you thought of, okay, let us pay for it. So this particular amount will be added under this particular column. Right, guys? So all the charges, whatever are going to incur beyond your savings plan capacity, that will be charged as on demand. Once again, I would like to add this thing here, that these things are going to be based on your requirement. Like either this particular savings plan can be agreed for a year or 3. Once again, there is a term, either you can create or you can have a commitment for 1 year, or you can make a commitment for 3-year savings plan. Clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I have doubt.
Please
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Sir, in a reserve instance, suppose we have taken a size of C58 large, and we have paid for some amount for that. And after or within 1 year, I want to change the size of the instance. So is that affect on the price? Because if my size goes larger or smaller, so how did that manage by
For
Amazon?
example, you do not have multiple instances here. You committed only for C5 dot 8x large, but the requirement came here, and you had to select like 85.12x large, right? As a single instance. So AWS is going to charge in such a way that the particular charges, AWS will break down the charges into 2 categories. That AWS will count like this, that one machine you are using at C5.8x large, and one machine you are using for like C5.4x large. Right? So when you will see the AWS calculator, so you will see like one machine you are being billed as per reserve instance prices, and one machine you are being billed as on demand charges.
Okay.
Although you have only one EC2 machine, the hardware which you are using, that is one. But when you will see the billing, so in that you will find the 2 categories, that your first 8x large instance will be covered under reserve, and remaining 4x large will be covered under on demand. Whether you may have only one EC2 machine running, but the bill is going to be broken into 2 pieces.
Okay. And what about if my size is if I reduce the instance size?
Okay, for
So-
example, okay, that can also be use case. For example, you did not create this one, right? And you just created, for example, C5.2x large instance, right? So this is a commitment. Whether you may use or not, you will have to pay for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And one more, if in case we have reserved for 8x large, and we want 12x large, but we know that 12x large will be for next couple of years, and we want that in as a reserve, then how it calculate?
To the particular option which I was showing you there, you can make an agreement.
Okay.
So you will have to be very precise at the time of purchasing these instance type. Any spot, like that is on demand, that is based on like bidding option. So whoever is going to bid more is going to have the instance. There is no guarantee that the instance is going to lie in your account maybe for next 1 hour or maybe for next 1 year. No guarantee. But yes, I would like to tell these instances are really cheaper. This instance can be utilized if you are going to use any auto scaling group. So in that particular case, these are really going to be very useful for you guys.
In auto scaling group.
We will discuss the use case of spot instances as well. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem.
So now we are going to create instance once again. So once again, I'm going to select EC2 machine. Now we know about this particular, like what is T2 micro. Guys, we have discussed about purchasing options in really detail. Now this is network section. So guys, what VPC we are going to select? So when we work in real production environment, so we have different type of VPC, like we have VPC where we are going to accept traffic directly from production. We are going to have VPCs where we do not want to expose our servers to internet. Different type of VPCs are there, or we may have multiple VPCs. So what VPC you are going to create this EC2 machine in? Now we have multiple subnets. So guys, one subnet is equal to one data center. Right guys, one subnet is equal to one data center. But over here in AWS, we call it AZ, availability zone. So one data center is equal to one availability zone. Here we can see like we have multiple geographical regions we have. But what do we see? Within Mumbai, we have only 3 data centers, right? So we can select anyone, whatever you want. You can select any data center here. Moreover, auto assign public IP address. So guys, as I was telling in the beginning, that whenever we create EC2 machines, so there are different type of components required. Like we may need one public IP address, we may need one private IP address. So if you want that, you do not want to allocate your public IP address with this EC2 machine, you can disable this option. But by default, this has to be enabled because we need to log into this machine. But once we will discuss about production use cases, we will discuss about VPC. So we shall be discussing that in which use case these type of changes should be implemented or where we can ignore this, right? Okay, then after host name. So guys, initially there was only one option like IP name. But right now, based on requirement, based on demand, now AWS has started providing that either you can have IP based host name or you can have resource based host name. Initially, it used to be IP name, but right now, if you want, like this is default subnet setting, but you can define that like this as well. That does not make a lot of difference, but yes, because this is an option, we should be knowing about it. DNS host name, obviously this is going to be like with the IP address, when you will try to log into your EC2 machine, you will get a DNS based host name of your machine. Guys, placement group, what does it mean? So for example, if you want really high throughput and low latency within your multiple virtual machine, for example, you are going to create a cluster of servers and you would like to club all the resources within same segment, within same cluster. So in that case, you can keep all the resources within your placement group. The sort of cluster you are going to create of different EC2 machines. Capacity reservation, guys. So for example, you have a requirement that you would like to launch only C5.24x large EC2 machine. AWS has very limited resources where this amount of CPU and memory can be allocated. So what you can do here is you can ask AWS to reserve some capacity for you. But once again, there will be a sort of commitment. You will have to pay for it. If you use, though even if you don't use, though even you will have to pay for it. So that does not make a sense to reserve risk instances. Join a domain directory. What does it mean? So for example, if you are working with Windows and at the time of EC2 machine creation, you would want that your EC2 machine should be part of any active directory. So you can opt this option, guys. Stop Hibernate behavior, guys. What does it mean?
Hibernating is a different concept.
Yes, guys. Dheeraj.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean?
I would like to try. It saves the states of our instance, and while we launch it, it creates the same like whatever we have previously, which is called
Jitendra?
hibernate.
I'm not sure, sir, but if we stop the our instance, so it goes to hibernate state or something like that.
Okay, not a problem. Let me tell you. So, guys, we should not only be knowing about the that what is the answer. We should be knowing about the use cases as well. For example, there are different type of software, like we have Elasticsearch, we have Redis, we have Varnish, or we have like any sort of software which is based on memory, like the particular application which stores most of the records onto RAM. So let us say there is a requirement for like performing any activity. Let us say that we are going for like patching activity. We have installed latest kernel in order to mitigate some bug or some other things, right? We need to reboot the server. So the server has maybe 500 GB of RAM allocated. The performance of that server is really good, but as soon as we are going to reboot the server, so the performance will definitely be degraded because all the data which is lying on the RAM and server is serving data from RAM, that will not be accessible anymore, like after reboot. Once again, all the data will be read from the disk that will be loaded onto RAM, and only after that, the particular options will be performed. Right, guys? So in order to ensure that once our EC2 machine is going to go for shutdown, we need to ensure that all the amount of data which is written onto RAM should be loaded or should be written onto disk, or you can call that hard disk drive, right? So whenever our operating system is going to stop, our system will write the data onto hard disk. And whenever the system will start again, that will read the data from hard disk and will load the same data onto RAM once again. So for example, before reboot, the amount of data which was loaded onto RAM, that was around 460 GB. Right? So as soon as the system will come up again, that may take a couple of minutes, but yes, as soon as the system will come up running, that will have the same amount of data onto RAM available, and that will not need to read the data from disk again in order to serve the customers. Are we clear with this? That can be a case of use case of Redis, Aerospike, that can be case of Elasticsearch, Varnish, maybe any software with whatever is serving from memory itself, right, guys?
So, sir, like if some HTTPD is installed in our EC2 and it is means inactive state. So suppose we stop the instance and then we again make inactive state. So our HTTPD became in active state. If we highlight this
let me
option.
tell you, Jitendra. So when you are talking about HTTP, so HTTP does not store data onto RAM. That is not a caching software. So this use case is especially used for caching software.
Okay.
Can we say settings are getting saved, like whatever data in RAM are the whatever we do have done the settings?
No, I didn't get you. I'm sorry.
I'm saying the RAM data is getting hibernated, like saved, and then again getting while restarting onto the
Yes.
machine. But
So
can
RAM's
we say
data is like RAM's data is getting stored onto disk, and that is getting loaded onto RAM like post reboot.
right? Can we say like that whatever settings we have done in our account or in our machine, that are getting saved and that are getting again
No,
restored?
we
Not like
cannot
that.
say. We cannot say that. Settings are
Okay.
different thing, and the like data lying on the RAM is a different thing.
Okay.
Okay, so in like enable termination protection, like if you want your instance should not be terminated accidentally, you can enable that. Like enable stop or like protection, so that particular system should not be stopped unwantedly. You can enable that option as well. This option was previously not enabled, but yes, within last 2 months, this option has been enabled. Monitoring. So this is an exam question as well as for interview as well. Because usually people would like to know that what is the default monitoring time of this particular CloudWatch. So guys, if you are going to enable detailed monitoring, it will be for 1 minute. If you want to enable default monitoring, it will be for 5 minutes. The difference here between default and detail is that you will have to pay for detailed monitoring. It will require additional charges. Tenancy, obviously, we have already seen shared or dedicated. Now, credit specification. So guys, the particular EC2 machine type, which are of T2, T3, T4G, these are the type of machines which comes with some like predefined credit limits. So if you are going to utilize the machine beyond the credit limit, you will have to pay some additional charges for that. Right, guys? So if you like what sort of interface you are going to have here, whether you would like to want any secondary IP address here, will it be auto assigned? You can add multiple IP addresses here, right? You can have multiple secondary IP addresses. Guys, one more question here is, and that question usually comes into exam as well. What is primary IP address of an EC2 machine? So guys, the answer here is private IP address is primary IP address of an EC2 machine. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Private IP address is primary IP address. Okay, these are the options which are advanced. So we are not going to discuss any of the option right now. We will discuss it within tomorrow's session.
Sir, if you could explain that monitoring part, the monitoring options, so that that is there. Monitoring, yes, sir.
Okay, so by default, whenever we create a resource in AWS, that is under monitoring. But the difference here is whenever AWS starts monitoring the resources, so AWS monitors every resource after 5 minutes. But if you want to run it in production, so obviously you cannot have that sort of lenient nature of monitoring. You need to have very tight monitoring. Every 30 seconds, you should be getting alert if there is any downtime or any services like utilizing a lot of resources. If anything happens, like maybe after 15 seconds, you would like to receive some alerts. If it is 5 minutes, so obviously that is of no use to you, set up that sort of monitoring. The challenge here is that why we need to pay additional charges, because whenever AWS is going to monitor your detailed services, like every single minute, it is going to update the graph, is going to notify you for any sort of activities happening in your account. So that will be detailed monitoring, that will be known as detailed monitoring, and that will be paid.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And you can ask one more question here. Then why does AWS monitor that the default monitoring? So guys, AWS charges on different segments, such as like the amount of data you are transferring, the amount of load which you are putting on the server, the amount of disk you are using, the amount of data you are downloading from internet, you are uploading to internet. So on every single component, AWS charges you. AWS does not want to capture all the metrics in the real time. AWS can wait for 5 minutes, maybe for 10 minutes, right? So AWS is going to monitor your resources for applying some charges on your account. But yes, it does not monitor the resources to notify you. If you want to be notified in real time, then you will have to pay extra charges. That is a use case here. Now, guys, we are going to talk about like root volume type. That is going to be root. Type is SDA, right? Dev SDA is the device name. This is going to be SSD. So guys, one more interview question here is that what are the different volume types do we have in AWS? So guys, there are 5 different types like GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard. The differences we will discuss in tomorrow's session, because if we start discussing about this only, then for sure, we will not be able to create one EC2 machine within 3 hours even. Right. So we are going to discuss about this later on. Moreover, let me tell you, there are 2 additional disk types which are known as provisioned, the cold HDD and throughput optimized. Overall, 7 type of devices we have. We will discuss in tomorrow's session. Right, guys. Now the tagging. So guys, we can define a name here. We can define like demo, AWS, batch. We can have here. We can define security group. And guys, one more thing. This is just like these particular tags are not only for identifying the resources why we have created it, but it has a lot more to do with your tags. So I'll explain it. First of all, the name. Then after, for example, there is an auditor coming in your environment, and you are going to sign a deal with the person. The person is going to patch the environment for you. The person would ask, okay, let me know how many overall resources are running in your AWS account in terms of EC2. You will go to dashboard, you will identify, okay, 780 machines are running. Very good. Out of those 780 machines, how many are running on which operating system, like Windows and Linux? How would you identify that? So you will define here like OS, that will be Linux. Now you have defined Linux. So out of for example, you identify 600 machines are running as Linux. So out of these 600, how many are running with Red Hat and how many are running with Ubuntu or CentOS? So OS flavor you can define as a tag. You can define here the RHEL. You can define the team. You can define a, let us say, DevOps, team lead, lokendra.singh at servergyan.com. Let us say it is environment. Let us say it is going to be dev or QA or prod, whatever it is. Obviously, in real world, we are going to define only one, but for example, I'm giving like this, right? Are we clear with this thing, guys?
Yes, sir.
Why we are doing this? For example, this particular machine which I'm going to create is underutilized. I have allocated 64 CPU, 128 GB of RAM. But when you got a report, you identified that this machine is not being used even 1%. So what will you do? You will check that who is owner of it. You will drop an email stating like, hey, Lokendra, this machine is underutilized. We would like to bring down the resources to like so and so. Please suggest a suitable time. Or let us say, so many teams are there. Let us say it is dev, it is QA, it is DevOps, it is like XYZ team is there. Now, different team owners are requesting for a lot of resources. Now you need to identify that how much amount of bill we are going to pay to AWS on monthly basis for the team DevOps. You can figure out, you can create a tag in AWS billing section with the help of team or team lead. You can select both the options, and AWS billing console is going to identify and is going to calculate all the charges which are being paid for the resources which are tagged with the name of lokendra.singh at servergyan.com and team is DevOps. Right? So in order to identify like segregation of billing amount, we can use these tags. Are we clear with this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Moreover, if you need to identify that what software we have installed, like software, Apache 2.4. That's it. So even you can identify like on how many servers you have installed Apache. So that way. Now, guys, obviously, we are going to talk about security group. So like whenever you are going to create EC2 machine, you will have to create a security group as well here. Right? So this security group is going to be given a name, maybe demo AWS. You can define a description. So guys, there are three options. First of all, you will define a like type that is going to be SSH, or maybe like these are some custom protocols which you can have here. Maybe if there is a particular like port number which is not mentioned here, but you would like to allow that particular, like you can define custom TCP rule. Over here, you will define port number, let us 3333, right? This is the port number. This is custom protocol. This is protocol type TCP. This is port number. This is source. So where from would you like to allow this port number to be accessible? From my IP address only? From anywhere, like anywhere in this world should be able to access this port number, or from custom, maybe from my office IP address, which is 12.23.45.67/24, right? You can define my office, right, guys? So I will define it from anywhere for now, right? And I will define here like SSH. Are we clear with this thing, guys?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Moreover, if you would like to whitelist 2 ports, so you can define here maybe SSH, or after that HTTP. That should be port 80. That should be from anywhere. That's it. So over here, SSH should be from my IP address and HTTP from anywhere. Now review, like what are the particular options we have selected so far? What was the instance type? T2.micro, 1 virtual CPU, 1 GB of RAM, low to moderate network. SSH you are going to have, and that too allowed from this particular IP address. HTTP, right? Instance details, like one instance we are going to create. This is going to be network, this is subnet. Detailed monitoring is not enabled here. Hibernate option disabled, capacity reservation open. So these are the particular options which we have selected here, right? If we talk about storage, 1 disk with 10 GB, GP2 volume type you have associated. If you want to talk about tags, so these are the tags which you have implemented, like name, demo AWS batch, OS Linux, flavor Red Hat, enterprise Linux, team is DevOps, team lead is Lock and Sing, and environment is going to be Dev, QA, Prod, software is going to be Apache. And these tags will be implemented on instance, on volume, and network interfaces as well.
Sir, in previous section in security group, it was asking security group. Means while creating security group, can you please switch to the previous section? Yeah, in next to my IP. If you click there, if you remove this IP, it was asking security group or IP. Yeah, or security group. Means
Okay,
we have not created any security group.
Wait.
And
what happens here is either you can define some CIDR, for example, 10.0.0.0. You can define a CIDR, right? Or what you can do is like comma separated value, you can define that security group. One security group you can define here. So rather than whitelisting this particular server to be accessible from anywhere, so all other AWS sources where this security group is associated, all the resources would be allowed to access this server. For example, there are 20 other servers where this security group is implemented. There are other 20 EC2 machines where this security group associated. So all the 20 EC2 machine will be allowed to access this machine which we are going to create on port 22.
okay, not other than those 20 machines.
Yes, no other one than those 22 machines.
Okay. So rather specifying 20 IP, we can use a security
So
group.
what should happen here is in real production environment, because see, like obviously I have been talking about all the production scenarios, so I was not supposed to discuss this today because tomorrow we are going to discuss in more details that how do we set up. So ideally what happens here is, so we do not whitelist port 22 from our IP address or from any other IP address. So there is a particular service known as jump host. So we whitelist the port number, the security group of jump server here. That first of all, we will log in from our on-prem data center to jump server, and from jump server to this server. We directly do not do SSH into our production environment.
Okay,
Right.
sir.
Exactly. Yes.
So I was supposed to discuss that in coming session, but yes, when there was a query, so I explained it. So guys, there are 3 options. Either you can choose an existing key pair, you can create new one, or you can proceed without key pair. Existing one, you can select from the list. You can create new. See, you have to download the private key pair *pam file before you can continue. Store it in a secure and accessible location. You will not be able to download the file again after it's created. Are we clear with this? This file has to be kept very secure. And like who stores this? How do we make it secure? We will discuss in tomorrow's session, guys, right? And finally, I have selected my existing key pair. I am going to hit launch instance. So guys, it took around 2 hours and 25 minutes to create just one EC2 machine.
We discussed almost all options, and
Pardon?
with the use, we have discussed all the option with use cases. That's why.
Otherwise, it takes 20 seconds to create EC2 machine.
Right.
Sir, the last option that was showing na without any key, without any key pair. So if we launch an instance without any key, so how can we access that instance?
That is a tricky one. So how do we access that instance? For example, as I told, for example, I'm going to, okay, let me show you that. And let me give you a practical example of, for example, I'm going to log into this machine, right?
Yes.
I've logged into this machine. How did I log in? That's a different thing. Forget about it. We will discuss in detail tomorrow, right? I created a user had, let us say, Loki. I set password, right? I went to configuration file etc sshd ssh p_config. Vim command is not available here, right? I went here. I looked for password option. Over here, password authentication should be disabled. Over here, challenge password authentication. Here, see, password authentication, no. I said yes, right?
Yes, sir.
I saved this option. Restart. Now I have a user with the name of Loki. I have password to this user. If I reboot, if I create one image out of this machine and I launch it, then this user Loki and the password will be stored within this machine. So if I have a customized image, in that case, definitely I shall be in a position to log into this machine without any key pair because I have a user. Right, guys?
Right, exactly.
But this, okay.
So if I lose my key pair, how can you log in? Hello, sir.
Yes, guys. Sorry.
If I lose my
I
key,
was speaking on mute only.
so if I lose my key pair, how can I log in if you don't have this is enabled?
Okay, so Pradeep, so let me tell you, the particular recovery of key pair is practically not possible. That is just a tip and trick. We need to create another machine. We have to replace the key pair. So that is a lengthy activity. I'll show you in practical manner tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Because see, that is like a warning at the time of creation of this machine that you shall not be able to log into that machine again, right? You will not be able to recover the keys. You will not be able to you will not be allowed to download the key pair again. So guys, okay, I guess that is it for today. We have created this EC2 machine, and any feedback for the session, guys?
It was really good, sir.
It's pretty good session.
Good session, sir. Fantastic.
Any other one would like to share anything on this?
Sir, it is more detailed. I think
Yes, sir, it is so good session.
more detailed, sir, because I have seen your video on YouTube. You explained, because I think the participants at those times, they knew something about AWS because they were replying your questions. But here you just like cracked up like I cannot explain how deep it is.
Okay, thank you for your words. So well, guys, I'm going to stop recording. I'll share it with you, and guys, please register yourself for coming sessions, right? Whosoever is yet not registered, you can call me directly. You already have my number, right? So I'm going to stop the recording session, guys.